This is wet blocking your knits. So you will need a bowl or a sink with a little bit of water. And if you're doing something woolen, like this hat, it's always nice to use wool soap. That is really great because it helps to hydrate and soften the wool. So I use that anytime I'm working with wool. You'll also need a blocking mat. And depending on what you're blocking, if it's something small, you might only need one blocking mat. If it's something bigger, these are really nice because you can fit multiples of these together like puzzle pieces. If you need something for, if you're doing a larger piece like a shirt, then you can do it that way. The other thing you'll need are some pins, and you're going to use these to pin down your knit to the blocking mat. So the first thing you want to do is place your knit into the water and press, squeeze it gently. Just make sure we are getting all the fibers nice and saturated with water. I like to flip it over, make sure it gets nice and soaked on both sides. And then you simply wait for about 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and get this on our blocking mat. All right, so we waited 30 minutes. You're going to take your knit out of the bowl. You're going to gently squeeze it to get the excess water out. Be careful because you don't want to warp your fabric. Just a tight squeeze, but don't like twist or wring it out. Just a firm squeeze is good. There. Then you're going to grab a towel. Oops. And you're going to lay your knitting down on the towel, and we're just going to press it to get out just a little extra water. There. Now we're ready for our blocking mat. On your blocking mat, you can square off your piece. Mine looks pretty good, but if you're working with a pattern that gives you a specific dimensions, which they all should, they'll tell you how wide and how long it is at the very least. So what you'll do then is just carefully pin it down in those measurements, to those measurements. So one good example I can give you is if you have ever knit with lace, you know this, that when you knit the lace, it's pretty tight, and then when you block it, it opens up and you have to kind of pull on it to spread it open to get it to the actual finished measurements. With wool, you don't really have to do that quite as much. Or with just any with stockinette, you don't really have to do as much pulling and reshaping. So I think that's pretty good. Depending on how complicated your piece is, you might use a lot more pins than this, but this is a really simple piece, so I just kind of did all the main parts here. So that's it, and then you just let it air dry. I like to start my blocking at night because then you have a whole night where the piece is drying, and it's about maybe halfway dry by morning. And then with hats, I'll usually flip this over in the morning and let it finish drying, and then let it finish drying all the way. And then it's usually done in about 24 hours. So that is wet blocking.